The internet was supposed to hold the sum of all human knowledge, but instead, it just gave millions of absolute fools a giant megaphone. We gathered 50 of the most spectacularly clueless and confidently incorrect moments ever shared on forums. If you thought society was advancing, these unbelievable stories will violently drag you straight back to reality. 1. Someone out there genuinely believed the ultimate cure for deep-rooted insecurities was turning their bathroom into a dark void. This absolute mastermind grabbed a can of solid black paint and completely blacked out their mirror to stop judging their own reflection. Sounds incredibly poetic until the very next morning when reality hit like a freight train. You suddenly cannot shave your face or do your hair while staring into a pitch-black abyss. They actually ran to Reddit asking if there is a magical paint that blocks self-doubt, but still lets you see your eyeliner. Sorry to break it to you, but the paint you're looking for is called a licensed therapist. 2. Behold a true Wall Street financial wizard who proudly bragged online about finally crushing his massive student loan. How did he pull off this economic miracle? He simply dumped the entire balance onto a brand new credit card with a drastically higher interest rate. Yes, really. He boldly announced to the internet that he was officially debt-free because debt obviously cancels out other debt. That is literally like trying to put out a grease fire with a loaded flamethrower. He then seriously asked the forum what color sports car matches the vibe of financial freedom, completely ignoring hundreds of people frantically explaining compound interest. Math is truly just an abstract concept for some folks. 3. You have to respect the sheer confidence of a guy who genuinely argued that you cannot drown, as long as you stay completely calm and simply choose to breathe slower than the water. Are you seriously telling me you can negotiate with a liquid? Actual lifeguards flooded his comments, begging him never to test this ridiculous theory in a deep pool. His response was a total masterpiece of delusion. He arrogantly claimed that the ocean naturally respects relaxed people, and panic is the real enemy. It is absolutely fascinating how someone can be so incredibly at peace with their total lack of basic human survival instincts. 4. Imagine finding out your tough guy boyfriend is completely fake. One intensely controlling woman confessed she secretly logs into her partner's social media accounts every single day just to rewrite his angry comments. She aggressively edits his unhinged rants so they sound polite, mature, and perfectly socially acceptable. She proudly calls this absolute invasion of privacy free reputation management. He rightfully calls it identity theft with a built-in spell checker. She actually went online totally baffled as to why her man cannot appreciate her unpaid public relations firm running his digital life. He thinks he is a keyboard warrior, but he is really just customer service. 5. There is being a little frugal, and then there is this absolute legend of pure, unfiltered selfishness. A guy proudly shared that he proposed to his girlfriend right in the dead center of his own brother's wedding vows. His defense for this horrific crime against family harmony? He argued it was highly efficient because everyone in the room was already crying and staring at a couple anyway. He literally piggybacked on a massive catering bill that he did not pay a single dime for. To this day, he is genuinely confused why his family calls him a narcissist instead of praising his elite romantic multitasking skills. 6. Saving a few bucks on a security camera sounds smart until you create a neighborhood hostage situation. A local homeowner casually placed a highly realistic fake snake right on his front porch to deter thieves. Predictably, delivery drivers walked up, screamed in absolute terror, and aggressively chucked his fragile packages from 10 feet away. This brilliant mastermind then went online complaining about his deeply damaged cardboard boxes. He seriously wanted to know if he could sue the Postal Service for blatantly refusing to respect his reptile-based security system. You are just lucky the delivery guy did not burn your porch to the ground. 7. Move over Wright brothers, because we clearly have the next aviation pioneer on our hands. One armchair engineer demanded to know why modern scientists do not just build massive airplanes with flapping wings, like giant metal birds to save on jet fuel. When actual commercial pilots explained the harsh realities of physics and gravity, he completely dismissed them. He confidently stated that humanity has simply gotten lazy and insisted the government should at least try building one experimental metal pigeon. He even generously volunteered other random passengers to act as test subjects for this absolute death trap. Delta Airlines needs to hire this man immediately. 8. Extreme summer heat makes people completely lose their minds. But this takes the cake. A self-proclaimed genius tried to cool down his boiling apartment by opening his kitchen oven door, cranking it all the way up to the highest broil setting, and placing a cheap box fan right in front of it. His master plan was to somehow push the cold air from inside the walls out into his living room. Shockingly to absolutely no one with a functioning brain, the room got drastically hotter. He actually went online to ask if his house was intentionally rejecting his brilliant innovation. 9. True love apparently means running a private surveillance state. One wildly insecure boyfriend insisted that unconditional trust requires sharing your phone location 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He magnanimously stated his girlfriend is totally allowed to watch his digital dot too, assuming he remembers to enable the feature. When she firmly refused to be tracked like a stolen piece of electronics, he immediately diagnosed her with severe commitment issues. He completely ignored the overwhelming consensus from the internet that he sounded less like a loving partner and way more like a creepy bounty hunter, closing in on a target. 10. Please prepare your stomach for a culinary disaster that will make anyone instantly gag. A completely clueless amateur cook hopped onto a forum to ask why his homemade rice tasted exactly like industrial laundry detergent. It turns out this absolute visionary decided to wash his raw rice with heavy-duty dish soap just to make sure the grains were extra shiny before boiling them. He genuinely assumed 5-star restaurants do the exact same thing to get that perfect gleam. The entire comment section collectively choked on their screens. Someone rightfully suggested this man should start treating his own taste buds as an endangered species. 11. Adulting is tough, but suing your bedroom electronics is a whole new level of denial. A chronically exhausted individual seriously asked legal forums if they could successfully drag their alarm clock manufacturer to court. Why? Because they feel that being forcefully woken up before their body is ready is a direct violation of their basic human rights. This sleepy visionary genuinely suggested that alarm companies should be legally required to pay citizens financial compensation for the sheer emotional damage inflicted every single Monday morning. They even had the audacity to ask for a generic lawsuit template to sue Apple in small claims court. 12. Most normal human beings use the built-in timer on their toaster to make breakfast. Not this absolute savage. He proudly explained his daily routine, where he jams bread into the slots and leaves it burning until his ceiling smoke alarm violently screams. According to his deeply twisted logic, silence from the detector means the toast is still dangerously raw. He literally calls this chaotic process his morning achievement system. Actual firefighters call this guaranteed job security, while his terrified neighbors are busy aggressively calling the landlord to get this pyromaniac evicted before the entire building turns into a giant piece of charcoal. 13. We have an absolute economic mastermind who cracked the ultimate code on beating the Internal Revenue Service. This guy bragged online that he legally avoids all taxes by strictly paying for every single thing with physical paper bills. His ironclad logic is that any money touching his bare hands instantly becomes completely invisible to the federal government. When certified accountants desperately tried to explain how banking systems actually function, he completely dismissed them. He proudly revealed that throwing away every single paper receipt is his own highly advanced encryption protocol. Have fun explaining that homemade financial strategy in federal prison, buddy. 14. Fitness gurus are usually pretty intense, but this hardcore gym bro created a daily diet that is basically a medical nightmare. He strictly consumes nothing but cheap pizza, covered in heavy scoops of vanilla protein powder, all washed down with a 2-liter bottle of dark cola. He proudly labeled this toxic sludge efficiency eating because it violently hits his body with carbs, protein, and caffeine all at the exact same time. When doctors warned him that his internal organs might literally shut down, he boldly declared that kidneys are completely optional if your alpha mindset is strong enough. 15. Nothing says true romance quite like aggressive bedroom surveillance operations. One woman proudly shared her latest interior design triumph, installing a massive, heavy mirror directly over her bed. But she did not just hang it normally. She specifically angled it downward so her boyfriend could finally see her absolute best angles correctly during their private time. Instead of being impressed, the poor guy was absolutely horrified by the extreme narcissism and immediately packed his bags to move out. She actually came to the internet playing the victim, wondering out loud if modern men are just completely terrified of self-reflection. 16. A spectacularly confused internet user posted a question wondering if the literal sun ever gets properly cleaned. He pointed out that it has been burning out there in space forever and must be incredibly dusty by now. Patient science nerds flooded the comments trying to explain the extremely complex mechanics of nuclear fusion using simple toddler vocabulary. Instead of learning something, he boldly decided that modern scientists were heavily overcomplicating what is clearly just one huge campfire. He then brilliantly suggested that NASA should hire specialized space janitors to fly up there and spray the dying star with cosmic window cleaner. 17. Conspiracy theorists are wild, but this confident self-taught dinosaur enthusiast takes the absolute cake. He aggressively argued that modern medicine is highly suspicious because you never hear any historical records about vaccinated Tyrannosaurus rexes. Let that sink in for a second. When normal people try to explain the basic linear concept of planetary history and time, he doubled down on the crazy. He loudly decided that corrupt global scientists were actively hiding ancient fossils holding tiny prehistoric needles. He aggressively ignored every single comment, pointing out that his entire theory was pure nonsense. The meteor really missed a few of these guys. 18. A boomer husband honestly thought he was playing four-dimensional chess in his marriage. He proudly bragged that he intentionally hides the living room television remote inside his sweaty work shoe every single night. His evil master plan was to force his wife to physically speak to him and ask for permission before she could watch her shows. Well, she quietly went to the store, bought a universal remote, programmed it, and completely stopped talking to him altogether. The absolute fool then went online crying, genuinely wondering if the sacred art of communication in modern marriage is officially dead forever. 19. Imagine being so fiercely anxious that you think your own dreams are illegal. A highly imaginative dreamer hopped onto a legal advice board, terrified out of their mind. They desperately needed to know if real-life police officers can kick your door down and arrest you for felonies you commit while sleeping. Apparently, they keep aggressively robbing high-security banks in their sleep and waking up drenched in sweat. They were genuinely terrified that the legal system still counts your subconscious actions as highly actionable offenses. One extremely helpful user strongly suggested heavy therapy before their sleeping brain transforms into a heist movie. 20. A self-proclaimed ultra-patriot posted a majestic photograph of a massive bald eagle and innocently asked the internet what specific breed of freedom chicken it was. It gets so much worse. He then genuinely asked if the majestic bird tastes better thrown on a backyard grill or deep-fried in peanut oil. When a dozen people immediately reminded him that hunting, killing, or even looking at one the wrong way is a massive federal crime, he threw a massive tantrum. He bitterly complained that the corrupt government is actively gatekeeping the most highly patriotic bucket meal on the entire planet. 21. One amateur electrical engineer decided the charging speeds on his laptop were just way too slow for his fast-paced lifestyle. He tried to force charge his device by plugging the main adapter into a power strip and then recklessly wiring that exact same strip into two completely different wall outlets to capture double electricity. Before a single person could type out a desperate warning, the main breaker aggressively flipped and half of his entire neighborhood went completely dark. Instead of admitting defeat, he called the blackout ultimate proof that big government safety rules deeply hate human progress. 22. We finally have a very ambitious climate change activist who posted a flawless plan to save the Earth. His big idea: simply plant billions of oak trees on the surface of the moon to absorb all of our excess carbon. When actual astronomers gently reminded him that the moon completely lacks a breathable atmosphere or soil, he barely blinked. He instantly proposed that humanity just ship a massive bubble of air up there, along with a heavy-duty starter forest. He aggressively insisted that if tech billionaires actually cared about our survival, they would have already sponsored the very first lunar national park. 23. Forget booking an expensive tropical vacation because this guy unlocked the ultimate winter life hack. A man proudly claimed to the internet that he gets a dark, glowing tan by simply pulling up a high-resolution photograph of a sunny beach on his smartphone. He literally holds the glowing screen directly against his pale face for a solid hour every single night. He aggressively insisted he could physically feel his skin getting warmer, declaring that modern pixel technology is basically just concentrated artificial sunlight. Certified dermatologists practically begged this lunatic to at least invest in a bottle of real sunscreen. 24. One suburban mastermind decided raking autumn leaves was for absolute peasants, so he dragged his wife's expensive indoor Dyson vacuum out to the front yard. He genuinely believed he could just vacuum his entire lawn to save time. Fast forward exactly 5 minutes, and the expensive machine aggressively choked on a single wet pine cone and completely burst into smoke. Instead of accepting his spectacular failure, he marched back inside and aggressively emailed customer support. He demanded a full cash refund, claiming the company falsely advertised the machine's suction power by not explicitly stating it could not swallow an entire oak tree. 25. A deeply misguided health guru decided to share his top-secret trick for shedding stubborn belly fat, and it is absolutely baffling. His magic method involves aggressively boiling a pot of regular tap water for 2 hours straight just to brutally kill all the extra calories hiding inside before he drinks it. When actual dietitians rushed the comments to explain that plain water physically does not contain calories to begin with, he dismissed them entirely. He arrogantly replied that his denim jeans definitely feel a lot looser lately, and the scientific community desperately needs to respect the overwhelming power of his personal belief system. 26. An incredibly angry driver posted a blurry screenshot of a painted speed bump on a residential street and completely lost his absolute mind. He aggressively demanded to know why his expensive GPS application failed to warn him about the obstacle. He felt absolutely entitled to real-time, vocal updates regarding every single pothole, crack, and slightly rude squirrel crossing the asphalt. When sane people in the comments gently suggested he should try physically looking out of his windshield occasionally, he proudly declared that his precious eyeballs are strictly reserved for reading text messages while operating heavy machinery. 27. One unhinged noise warrior proudly bragged about his completely rational solution to a neighbor who constantly played loud music. Instead of politely knocking on the door, he took industrial superglue and permanently attached a heavy-duty Bluetooth speaker right onto the neighbor's front door. He then blasted harsh, terrifying static white noise at maximum volume all night long, just so they could feel his pain. When the local police inevitably showed up at 3 in the morning, he was genuinely flabbergasted. He could not understand why the cops actually sided with the guy who did not actively weaponize smooth jazz. 28. We have an academic pioneer here who genuinely asked if binge-watching smart people on educational YouTube channels can physically force knowledge into your brain through eyeball osmosis. They desperately wanted a clear conversion rate on exactly how many hours of random trivia videos mathematically equal a master's degree from a real university. When told the answer is exactly 0, they threw a massive tantrum. They loudly announced that traditional universities are basically just overpriced buffering screens. They grabbed a family-sized bag of chips and immediately hit play on another unhinged 3-hour documentary about flat Earth lizard people. 29. A self-proclaimed home repair legend proudly posted photographic evidence of a massive roof leak that he completely fixed on his own. His genius engineering involved aggressively taping an open rain umbrella completely upside down to his living room ceiling. He then precariously balanced a heavy plastic bucket directly on top of the fabric. Exactly 6 hours later, physics stepped into the chat. The entire soggy contraption violently collapsed in one catastrophic, muddy crash, ruining his entire floor. The absolute legend then came back online demanding to know if duct tape companies can be successfully sued for providing false confidence. 30. One rugged outdoor camper asked a survival forum if it was perfectly acceptable to just brush his teeth using strong sunscreen instead of actual toothpaste. His bulletproof logic was that both chemical substances actively fight off harmful things, and they both conveniently come squeezed out of little plastic tubes. Several licensed dentists practically begged this man not to voluntarily poison himself in the woods. He arrogantly replied that the spicy mint flavor of traditional paste is obviously just a corporate marketing scam. He proudly stated he trusts the tropical smell of coconut way more than medical-grade fluoride. 31. A hardcore animal lover decided modern pet food was a complete corporate scam and tried to forcefully convert her carnivorous cat to a strict vegan lifestyle. Her elite dietary plan consisted of feeding the confused feline nothing but raw kale and expensive organic carrots. 2 weeks later, the starving cat violently rebelled and ate half of her expensive living room carpet out of pure spite. After a massive, panic-inducing vet bill, she actually went online to complain. She seriously wanted to know if her cat was secretly brainwashed by the meat industry or just fundamentally lacked the discipline for a plant-based journey. 32. Meet the internet's most highly decorated infectious disease expert. A self-declared scientist aggressively argued that medical face masks are a complete scam because you can still easily smell a bad fart through a pair of denim jeans. His highly rigorous, peer-reviewed research method consisted entirely of eating a massive gas station burrito and forcing his poor roommate to quickly walk past him. When actual medical professionals exhaustingly tried to explain the massive difference between microscopic gas molecules and large water droplets, he shut them down. He just confidently kept repeating the word fart as if he just won a Nobel Prize. 33. A completely unhinged financial visionary proudly shared his foolproof master plan to absolutely destroy global inflation. His trick is simply never, ever paying off his high-interest credit card. He passionately argued that if he only makes the bare minimum payment for the next 50 straight years, future American dollars will be so incredibly weak that his massive mountain of debt will technically become dirt cheap. Basic mathematics tried desperately to warn this man about the impending financial ruin headed his way. However, compounding interest rates just sat back in the shadows and laughed uncontrollably at his fast-approaching bankruptcy. 34. One incredibly bold. Do it yourself? Magician completely removed all the steel screws inside his heavy bedroom door hinges. He replaced them entirely with tiny refrigerator magnets. He was absolutely convinced that the heavy wooden door would effortlessly snap itself perfectly closed using the pure, natural energy of the universe. Fast forward exactly 2 days, and the entire door is heavily dragging against the carpet, violently swinging half open in the middle of the night. He confidently jumped online to ask if there was some secret hack to significantly increase magnet gravity without having to go back to the hardware store like a total loser. 35. A fiercely possessive woman proudly admitted she spent hours secretly changing every single contact photograph inside her boyfriend's smartphone. She changed them all to different pictures of her own face. Her deeply unhinged reasoning was so he would never accidentally forget who truly matters in this world. Now, every time his boss, his mother, or his fantasy football buddies call, he physically feels like his entire social circle has been replaced by a terrifying clone army of his girlfriend. She actually had the nerve to ask the internet if her boyfriend is secretly addicted to the concept of other human beings existing. 36. A wildly disappointed American tourist took to social media to aggressively complain that the legendary Eiffel Tower is actually a massive scam because it is not even that tall in person. His primary argument? He claimed it was an architectural failure because he could still clearly see the blue sky floating way above it. He genuinely suggested the city of Paris should heavily invest in raising the entire iron structure on massive steel stilts. Or better yet, just stack a second tower directly on top of it for a much more dramatic skyline. Annoyed locals politely invited this genius to try walking up the thousands of stairs first. 37. We have a paranoid office worker who was absolutely convinced a highly calculated criminal mastermind was systematically stealing his expensive sandwiches from the break room fridge. He actually spent hundreds of dollars hiring a professional private investigator to secretly monitor the kitchen and build a rock-solid legal case. 2 days later, the investigator handed over the definitive video evidence. It was just footage of the guy himself aggressively eating his own lunch at 10 in the morning and completely forgetting about it by noon. He still refused to pay the investigator, claiming the video was clearly a highly sophisticated artificial intelligence deepfake. 38. An intense basement gamer confessed a technological war crime after his expensive gaming console started heavily overheating during a massive marathon session. Instead of turning it off or using a fan, he literally poured an entire can of highly caffeinated energy drink directly into the top cooling vents. He thought he could violently give the motherboard some extra horsepower. Now, the heavy plastic box smells exactly like a burned-down candy factory and absolutely refuses to power on. He seriously came to the forums to ask if stuffing it into a bag of dry rice will still magically save it, or if the heavy carbonation somehow alters the basic repair process. 39. One highly entitled guy aggressively complained to customer service that his expensive, brand-new wireless headphones completely stopped working the second he stepped into a steaming hot shower. Mind you, his actual cell phone was charging 3 rooms away. He angrily labeled the entire Bluetooth industry as a massive scam and heavily cited false advertising regarding his personal freedom. He fully expected the invisible signal to magically blast through thick drywall, heavy plumbing, running water, and ceramic tiles like some kind of highly advanced emotional support Wi-Fi. Basic elementary school physics respectfully declined to participate in his absolute delusion. 40. One extremely creative tenant thought he had cracked the ultimate life hack for affordable housing. He suggested paying his monthly apartment rent using a massive stack of brightly colored Monopoly money first. He wanted to test if his grumpy landlord possessed a secret sense of humor before using that exact joke to heavily negotiate a massive cash discount. Every single person online desperately told him that this is the absolute fastest way to speed-run a legal eviction notice. He aggressively insisted that adult life is fundamentally boring if you blindly respect every single arbitrary rule printed on a piece of paper. 41. A fiercely independent user proudly posted an extremely dangerous selfie taken directly on a massive public highway while operating his so-called first real car. The vehicle in question was a bright orange, heavy-duty riding lawnmower slowly crawling along in the far left passing lane. He continuously bragged to the entire internet about his machine's absolutely insane gas mileage. He even had the sheer audacity to call all the other terrified drivers jealous, toxic haters when they desperately honked their horns. He genuinely thought they should deeply respect his completely illegal, farm-to-freeway, slow-motion lifestyle choice. 42. An incredibly confused amateur biologist aggressively complained that if human beings genuinely evolved from ancient monkeys, the current monkey population should be absolutely furious. He thinks they are mad that we selfishly left the global tree group chat without leaving a forwarding address. He seriously suggested that modern humanity mathematically owes wild chimpanzees a highly publicized global apology tour for moving into concrete houses. When exasperated scientists patiently explained millions of years of complex evolution for the 10th time, he completely ignored them. He proudly decided he would simply continue believing in dramatic, reality television-style family breakups across all primate species. 43. An absolute automotive pioneer proudly bought a used, fully electric Tesla and immediately decided he outsmarted the entire engineering community. He loudly declared that charging stations were a massive government conspiracy, so he aggressively poured 2 full gallons of raw diesel fuel directly into the car's front storage trunk. He was absolutely convinced the internal computer would somehow magically convert the heavy liquid into clean battery juice. When the car predictably short-circuited and refused to move, he threw a massive public tantrum. He completely blamed Elon Musk for building a highly sensitive, overly dramatic vehicle that actively rejects traditional American horsepower. 44. An absolute shark of a homeowner asked if she was somehow the bad guy for forcefully charging her closest friends a few dollars just to use her private bathroom during weekend house parties. She did not stop there, though. She actually printed out a highly detailed laminated price list for different qualities of toilet paper and heavily upcharged her guests for something she called premium flush speed. She beautifully framed this pure extortion as teaching her drunk friends basic respect for indoor plumbing. She called it introducing them to the harsh reality of modern bathroom values. Friendship truly is priceless, until nature calls. 45. A deeply confused computer customer literally could not wrap his head around how his expensive wireless mouse could possibly run out of battery power. His argument was that it has absolutely no physical wires for the electrical energy to escape through. He loudly demanded that the scientific community immediately stop being lazy and develop highly advanced electronics that naturally charge off his personal daily mood swings. When engineers gently informed him that human emotions cannot mathematically power a laser sensor, he instantly accused the entire concept of electricity of heavily lacking creative imagination. 46. A self-proclaimed cybersecurity genius proudly revealed he safely stores absolutely all of his highly sensitive banking passwords inside a single draft email conveniently titled Passwords. He did this so he could easily access them from any device on the planet. He was absolutely shocked to his core when several of his major financial accounts were brutally hacked over the weekend. IT professionals desperately tried to explain that this is the digital equivalent of permanently leaving your house keys directly under a bright neon doormat. He furiously pushed back, calling the Russian hackers incredibly disrespectful, but highly admitting they were extremely well organized. 47. One wildly entitled smartphone critic went on a massive unhinged rant, declaring that all modern cellular phones are total garbage. His highly specific complaint? His device continuously dies after a full 14-hour day of heavy 3D gaming, high-definition movie streaming, and absolutely refusing to turn the camera flash off. He firmly believes that lithium-ion batteries should magically last forever, or at the very least, until he personally gets completely bored of the specific phone. He aggressively stated that anything less than infinite electrical power is clearly a deeply planned, multi-billion-dollar corporate conspiracy designed to ruin his life. 48. One completely delusional woman was genuinely baffled as to why her uptight landlord was being so incredibly dramatic about the 6 massive, fully grown goats currently living inside her tiny one-bedroom apartment. She confidently defended the livestock by classifying them as highly trained, emotional support indoor lawnmowers who barely ever scream during the middle of the night. She aggressively argued they were definitely way quieter than the unruly human children living on the floor above her. The entire Reddit community absolutely agreed that someone definitely needed to be legally evicted immediately, and it certainly was not the innocent farm animals. 49. A highly optimistic budgeting beginner innocently asked a finance firm if officially canceling his monthly Netflix subscription technically means he has officially entered the competitive real estate market. His reasoning was purely because he is now aggressively saving $15 whole every single month. Real estate agents gently broke the news that his massive savings plan would not even cover the cost of a single decorative brick at the hardware store. He completely brushed off the negativity, deeply quoting ancient philosophers and declaring that every massive financial empire officially begins with one single step and a slightly less crowded weekend watch list. 50. We wrap this up with a highly confused commercial airline passenger who genuinely believed that tapping airplane mode on his cheap smartphone was supposed to completely freeze the massive jetliner midair. He fiercely argued that the button's name is pretty crystal clear. He aggressively complained to the flight attendant that the heavy aircraft continuously kept moving forward, which obviously proved the phone setting was completely fake and highly deceptive. When the pilot eventually explained it only affects tiny radio signals, he demanded Apple immediately rename the button to Honesty Mode to promote better global transparency for nervous travelers. I refuse to believe you have not witnessed someone this spectacularly stupid in real life. Go to the comments and expose the absolute dumbest thing you have ever seen a grown adult do. Shame, I want the terrible details. And before you click away, hit that subscribe button and leave a like unless you are the guy who vacuums his lawn.